Alright, 2023 Skidoo Summit X, 1200, 1300 kilometers, might be a little early, but why not? Time to do some primary and secondary clutch maintenance with some tools we are just unboxing from Hurricane Performance. I believe they're out of back east in Canada. And yeah, so we're going to do secondary rollers because, you know, everyone knows they suck, and then we're going to take off our primary and get to our rollers and do the preventative maintenance on them with the special tool, which is conveniently sitting on the bench over there. So let's see what happens. What did we buy? P-Drive roller lube kit, yeah. P-Drive complete touch tool kit 3. High torque rollers, a Torx bit, yeah, and some shipping. Came out to $627 Canadian. As compared to about $1,100 to get a probably slightly nicer tool set from the States, but like, my goodness. Look at that guy. Nice. It's gotta be enough grease for multiple tries. Looking good. Pretty decently packaged, actually. It's a pretty nice piece. Well, I guess we start with the easy stuff we don't have to look up. But also, if you ever want to buy a white sled, know what you're getting into with some of this shit. Ta-da! It's that easy. Alright, that was tighter than any other YouTube video I've seen, but she's off now. Definitely took a little bit of nail biting, but she came. Ta-da! I'm not particularly sure where the mark is on the spider here, because it's obvious you got one on the back here. The movable shiv here. But not particularly sure if there is one actually cast in the spider or not. Insert the 12-inch threaded rod through the bottom base. Huh? Install one of the 1/2-inch washers. Add the nut to the threaded rod and align and tighten so the base is secured to the threaded rod. It's actually really nice stuff. Like, so what I thought I would be receiving would have been, you know, 1/2-inch national course, and this is actually Acme thread, so it's much more of a tool thread than, well, than a home gamer back of the woods readily available thread. It's actually the right thread for this application. So that was actually quite impressive to me, because the pictures on their website are actually kind of shit compared to what you receive, because this is some pretty decent kit actually. Add 1/4-inch thick flat washer to the threaded rod so it rests on the nut that you just tightened to the base. This will keep the P-drive clutch centered for disassembly and reassembly. Add a little lubrication to the threaded rod when using the compressor. Okay, we're not at that point yet, because, you know, working on a clutch, you don't want to get oils in these, so we're going to use as little as possible, but still some because they ask for it. Clutch must be separated before the spring can be removed. Oh yeah, cool. Check. Insert the clutch puller bolt. Oh, we gotta get that back out. Okay, yeah, it says put that in there. It says to hit it on a concrete floor, but I'm gonna just start with the less aggressive options of a plywood bench. Okay, maybe they're right. Maybe it does need something aggressive. Slide the movable half with the spider onto the base. Ta-da! Aha! I think that magically might have just come off without anyone really filming it. But, yeah. So today is tomorrow because we got a little busy with somebody's birthday at the brewery. So, all well and good. Let's see how she goes. A little spring compressor, maybe a little too much. Maybe I got that in frame, maybe I didn't. A little bit of screwing, the right amount. Definitely consumable. I could see why people say you should replace this after a certain amount of kilometers. Don't know what kilometers I'm gonna replace it at, but somewhere, sometime. Should be able to just lift this guy. Beautiful. Oh yeah. Look at all that grime in there. Definitely time for a proper cleaning. Keep these together for now. Put them back where we found them, just in case. It is marked with the number 3 slot, so put that aside and mark it as number 3. Well, and that is a fully disassembled spider, I believe. I believe this steel insert is pressed in there. It's not something that is serviceable that I am aware of. Just gonna put this spider aside and look at these rollers, which is one of the primary things. Well, actually, it is the primary thing we're in here to service, other than a nice cleaning. Let's see what our rollers look like. They don't look that bad, but that's what we're in here. Preventative maintenance. Okay, well, dang. So this is a brake cleaner. Chlorinated? The good stuff? Anyways, before they nerfed it in Canada, actually. So it's pretty good solvent. And got those bushings and these ground pins cleaned up, and you can actually start to see what I hope is superficial marks. But definitely wear on the fourth side of the pin from these rollers. So yeah, I think it was time to do this, but cannot touch, can't feel it. So I'm calling it superficial. I think everyone would agree on that, at least for this. So that's about time. And yeah, I don't know, I tried to catch it there, but giving her a poke with a Q-tip, clean Q-tip in the solvent, able to get so much out of the actual needles inside of these rollers. And now, before we grease these and reassemble and everything, they're going to be both. I'll blow the brake clean out with low pressure compressed air, don't want to displace anything in there, and then let them dry for a good chunk, and not drop them all over the place too. That'd be good. And one more visual and see how they look. Now I saw quite a bit of mix of Loctite, so there's a fair chunk of factory Loctite on the rollers themselves, but there really wasn't very much on these ramp cross pins, whatever they actually are called. But there still was some, but very little. So either we're applying different amounts of the same color in factory, or our application is really crappy for consistency. Today's tomorrow once again. A little bit of hot soapy water on the bench. Let's see what damage we can do. Semi-soft bristled brush. Nothing scary. So for these ramp pivots, what is this? No, it doesn't call it out in the picture I'm looking at, but it does call out 44 plus or minus 4 inch-pounds. Yep, that is what we have here. We have the correct torque wrench. Now, to get that pin all the way in, I actually already had this threaded in, and just using a small little ratchet went until it stopped, because it was consistent force all the way pulling it in, and then it stopped moving and we tightened up a bit. But yeah, anywhere there was factory Loctite, put a little bit of blue on this guy. And I think a little bit. That might actually be a lot for this fastener, but we're gonna use it anyways. Goes in by hand pretty much nicely. Where before it was very clear I was pulling, well obviously the shoulder of the bolt was up against it. There we go. Let's see what this is gonna be like. If I could do this without blocking the camera. Come on, get in there, buddy. There you go. Very little effort to put that in there. That's actually unnerving how little torque they spec on that. That's equivalent to like 4 foot-pounds. So that's it. That's all she wrote. And we'll move on to the next one. All right, so I guess it's time to do the good part. Greasing these rollers. So grab the number 1 roller. It's been sitting for a day, nice and dried out. Visually, everything looks pretty clean. Rollers must be removed in order to lube them. Yes, very important. There are nice little wiper seals on either end. Very nice. So that's why this is the only thing that I'm aware of that these clutches actually get lube of any kind, is because like a grease or an oil, because they're actually sealed and kept away from any belt dust that would just glom on there and will stop any lube from doing its job. Anyways, inspect needle bearings inside a roller. Check. If dirty or rusty, use 3/8 diameter brush to clean. Well, not bad. We did clean it, but it wasn't rusty for me. Okay, here we go. Remove rubber protective cap prior to using the injector. Take off the protective sleeve. Oh, nice. Slide roller over the grease adapter and push gently with the plunger while twisting the roller. Da-da-da. I don't want to just completely go off the deep end, so I'll start a little bit, make sure, break that. There we go. So we started at 5. I don't know what we're doing. Let's go down to 4.5. A little bit more than 4.5. I definitely feel it getting in there, I believe. Let's pull it off and take a look. Looks pretty good to me. Don't want to overdo it. Don't want to have it come out past the seals too much on us, because you know, as we want to keep it nice and clean. Number 1 slot, 2 spacers, which I already visually inspected. to be quite good. Might have been a little bit too much grease in there because now we're going to be having it on the thread, so we're supposed to be Loctiting in there. So maybe, just maybe, we'll see what happens here. Gave her a little tap in to help seat it. Push that lube a little too much. Yeah, I think maybe a little bit too much lube. Got that little extra lube out there for the most part. All right, and for number 3, getting my technique right down. So we push up about half a cc, maybe 2.5, 3 milliliters here. Spin it around while we do it, keep the pressure on. The seals actually keep it in, the grease in quite well. And then before you take it off, we're gonna suck back a little bit, give it another spin, remove this, protect our protective cap for the next time. Another 1,000 kilometers later if you're a one sled type of guy. Nice grease job. We're gonna take our pin, we're gonna put it in. Little extra grease there, swipe that somewhere clean. Remove your pin. Perfect, perfect. And then we're ready to install in the Spider. See if I make sure I can get this in framing. And not crack under pressure. I've been putting everything back together. These pins all look tapped on both sides, but I've been putting them back in so they go in the way they came out. Usually you can see like the threads are used or have a little bit of residual Loctite left on them from factory or what have you. Oh, what am I doing? That's right, I was trying to look at framing while Loctiting my Torx driver. Same torque spec as the last guys for the ramps. 44 inch-pounds plus or minus 4. 5 newton meters plus or minus 0.5. And that's click. Do I like to go back with the little ratchet and just feel it out? Yes, I do. I guess I'm young, but yet a little bit old school in me. Doesn't like it. It just feels too much for that, whatever it is, M5 screw for me. Doesn't feel like we actually seated the pin, even with the torque spec. And yeah, then you ask, what's the point of hammering it? Well, touche. That feels better right there. Beautiful. Check everything rolls nicely. Oh, yep. It does. Alright, let's see if I can get the reassembly pretty much nailed on the first try. Alignment mark, 12 o'clock position. Alignment mark, follow that guy up at the 12 o'clock position. Bam, right there. Now this guy, I think I wore off my Sharpie mark, but I'm gonna go ahead and say 1 matches up with 1, just like this. Just gotta seat them in the sliding, I don't know what they call them officially here. Got to lift the ramps a little to get them back in their right home, while also paying attention to your 3 points on what I believe where the name P drive comes from, or the part that is different from the last set of clutches with buttons, are all in place. Ta-da! Referring to these guys right here between the 2 rollers. After I play with clocking and line it back up. Bob's your auntie. I do remember my extra wear mark on my spring was up from this orientation. Whether that's good or bad, I cannot comment on. Put that clip back in there, and it's time to get this rig back out. Yeah, silly me had the other half of the clutch on here already. I was getting ahead of myself, so forget all that stuff I may or may not have said about clocking. But time to compress this spring again. Give her a couple cranks after your setup is reassembled. Make sure things are actually, everything is where it's supposed to be, which it is. Mine appears to be going a little crooked, but I don't believe that's the end of the world with this type of spring. There is no sleeve that I recall from the earlier generation clutch to put in here, but who am I? This isn't meant to be an expert tutorial. This is meant to be, will this work for you type of tutorial. Nice and lined up. Well, now it is. Yep. Put that clip back on, hopefully just with our fingers. Yep, there it is. And now we back off nice and slow. She looks to be seated. Safety switch engaged just in case. We tighten these up in a nice crisscross pattern, crisscross applesauce. I'm doing it in a sequence. I believe there is one in the manual. However, we're doing standard car tire rotation, but we're doing a half torque evenly, and then we're going to go up and spec it all the way out, which is 23 plus or minus 3 foot-pounds, or 31.5 plus or minus 3.5 Newton meters. So this torque wrench technically goes to 29 Newton meters, so we're just going to go all the way and then touch it up with the one after. Oh, sorry, we go to 250 inch-pounds, which will be the max on this wrench. Click. Click. Alright, before I get ahead of myself here, I was about to use this to do some other auxiliary cleanup. This brake cleaner from the roller step, properly cleaning them. However, I noticed a little bit of shiny in the bottom. I don't know how I can get the shininess on camera, but there are a couple little sparkles in here, which doesn't make me feel that wonderful, but this is why we do preventative maintenance. So I'm going to consult a couple guys at some time, maybe not for this video, but for my own purposes, on those sparkles. And this might actually trigger me to do another round of this before a large mile marker, maybe, I don't know, 500 instead of 1,000, or keep an eye on them, touch them every ride, even though you kind of should, that type of thing. All right, we're back. Let's put this primary on before we dig into the secondary. But fun anecdote I was looking at. A lot of the videos and stuff online are for the G4s, which have pretty much the same thing in here, but this piece of plastic that guards the secondary and primary section, or clutching section, away from the rest of the motor housing doesn't really exist. So there's one nut in there you gotta take off, that we will be taking off to take this out. But there's also, for this piece of plastic, there's a little bolt there, another one there, that you can access with both clutches in place if you need to. You might have to take the belt out of the way. However, there's a third one in here, so you gotta take this apart, all the way off, put an extension onto what looks like an 8mm, take it out so you can just get this out of the way, get that last bolt. Do I agree with separating them? Sure. Is it annoying? Yes. Do I have any experience taking my hood off and airbox out? Absolutely not. Never done that before in my life. And tight right there. Got our clutching tightening tool on there, right there. Is that right? Nope, that's wrong. Let's move it a little more. Put it right there. Put it right there against secondary. Perfect. Where the fuck is my socket? Who fucking put it down where you're not supposed to? Oh, there you go. Well, I did. This whole time I was on a look around. Right in the ski. So 89 foot-pounds. And then we put a belt on her. We drive the sled a little bit. By that I mean just lift up the rear end. Spin the track. XL, decel 5 times. I think it says 20 miles an hour, 35 kilometers an hour, I think it might have said. 89 foot-pounds on the wrench. I overdid it. And that's what she asked for, ladies and gentlemen. Key out. Tool on. Where is that torque wrench at? Let's see how much yield that got us. Probably about 30 degrees, I'd say. Good stuff. So yeah, primary's in. There she is. We saw her run, we saw her torque. Time to start on the secondary job, which is to do the rollers. So we grease the rollers in the main, in the primary. Now the job is to replace the rollers, because the factory ones have some issues. Not mine specifically, but in general they have some issues. So the guard I talked about here, or talked about previously, one of the two, the plastic shroud, I was able to actually finagle a 10-inch extension with a universal in the end off an impact with my 3 arms and 3 hands and get her out without taking the whole hood off. I still had to take one section off. Yeah, that went okay. It's a 10 mil. It's actually a decently held in there bolt. It's about 1 inch long in the plastic, so it's not going to just go spraying into your engine compartment with that. So I mean, sure it exists, maybe it has a purpose, but at least they designed it in the mold to not have to fall into the engine. Here, I'll show it to you actually. Yeah, it's not about just to take right off on you. You'd really have to try and drop that in your engine. Good. Bearing assembly, retainer, removed. Moving our progress to the other side of the sled. Crash. 1/4-inch extension. Better than ruining the steel edge with a screwdriver. Beautiful. This is what the retaining assembly looks like for this top sprocket. Maybe I hole saw the exhaust, the suitcase off. Huh? Huh? No? Okay. Take the suitcase off. Very well. Alright, boom. Decent progress. Took that exhaust off, took the hood off. Just broke this out with the 15 mil. Decent chunk of factory yellow on there. Had some crumbs even. Had to make sure they didn't fall down because why not? And one-handed. This should just go right in there. A little tight because of the residual Loctite once I got it started there. And yeah, the last step after this is just to loosen the chain a little bit. And we can pop her right on out. Chain's loosened off. That was easy. All right. Unthreading our retaining tool. The other style I saw was a little shorter. It had a machined, it was the actual diameter of the using part of the tool was machined down from a larger piece of stock. For this one, a little bit weight, which is just to sell you longer stock, so you don't need an edge. Boom. Came out just like that. Back to the instructions included on our kit. We skipped a bunch of steps already that I didn't even read, I just did them. And then it's clamp clutch, shaft into bench vise. Yep, definitely got that clamped. All right, good. Install the QRS tool into the clutch. Earlier we read red is for us, white is for the 900. Whoop. Da-da. This will make the rubber on the tool expand inside the shaft to hold the compressor in place while the clutch is disassembled. Alright, cool. Oh, there it is, never mind. Be sure the nut is fairly tight so the rubber expands enough to hold the tool securely in the shaft. Yeah, that ain't going anywhere. WTF, what are we doing here? Is this supposed to come off? Feels like it's supposed to come off, but it hasn't. Guys. Alright, yeah, those guys on the Skidoo video just ripped this off with a screwdriver without any tension on it. But if you've already adjusted your belt placement with this, well, you might have to loosen it off first. So that's what I did. Boom. Shaka-laka. Perfect. Let's try this again. This seems more like what I expected. And there we go. Now, they show you can use a torch to loosen the Loctite on this in Skidoo's own video. So I'm just gonna see how it goes. Because I broke the first one without it. And there's the second one too. By broke, I mean the good type of broke. And there's number 3. There's number 4. Okay. Yeah, so these are Loctited and Norlock style washers. I don't know if you ever seen Norlocks, but AV has a great video looking at these and their yield strength. Very cool. Very good stuff. Pretty common in certain industries too. Anyways, let's keep going. There we are, ladies and gentlemen. There's our helix. Now, one thing I wanted to look is my sled is particularly hard going forward reverse, so I was hoping there's going to be some signs in here of what, why, how, who, what, when. Alright, so ended up going down to the local industrial supply and grabbing the correct punch for this, which is a 332, because my other set skipped that size, which is what you need to take these pins out that live right in here. So this worked out great for the depth that it was, but then it bottomed out and I couldn't go any deeper. And the needle nose pliers, couldn't grab them out like they tell you to, so I ended up grabbing a drill bit and sacrificing it because it's the right size, putting it in, getting the top with an extension and just using that to drive the rest of the pin out. So yeah, now the pins are out and let's continue. Condition of my roller, dirty, couple minor scars but no major cracking anywhere, but yeah, better than screwed up, but still replacing them. Now, due to time constraints, I'm not really going to take this clutch apart as much as I did the last one and give it a full bubble bath, but I'm definitely going to use some brake clean, some paper towel, and get in there reasonably amount to get as much of the belt dust and everything off. Like I already did the running surfaces pretty decent with a little bit of Scotch-Brite and then brake clean and a wipe. Get a little bit of that built up stuff that was on the face off. And yeah, we'll definitely do some decent cleanup on the ramps before we reassemble, but other than that, we just put the rollers in after I clean this up, and we're back to assembly. Here we are, just reassembling the new spring pins and everything. Yeah, I had a second pair of hands in me here who's a bit camera shy, so we didn't film it, which I realize is kinda might have been the reason some of you guys are in here to see it. But it was a factory bushing, roller, whatever. There we go. Got the washer on the outside because that's the way it visibly lined up better with the ramps. From what I saw, I've never actually looked it up, but we're going with it. Ta-da! Alright, this guy's ready to go back in, but I just wanted to point something out. I really don't like how this part is manufactured. It's just kind of interesting that they have a two-part, what it might be injection molded or whatever, aluminum casting, and then you have the machine ramps afterwards to get the precision that's required. But the mold half is right here, and the way that there's going to be a technical jargon out there for what they're called, but wings of the casting that get broken off afterwards. And right there, there's one, there, and there. And they do look like they're just broken off, and it leaves a sharp line inside of there, which might be fine in the world, but it sure doesn't look good to my eyes. It's like really hard. It's almost like there's a crack in there, but it's not a crack. So, you know, it's just eyebrow raising at its finest, but let's get her back in there. All right, we got all of our timing marks lined up. Alignment marks, not timing. By the way, that was 24 foot-pounds. I think I had this set to 25. Don't tell on me, but that's what I found for these guys. Treat for the next guy? Probably me. I'm not sure what the best angle for this is, but we're gonna give her a try. Let's reinstall this guy. Take my protective electrical tape off. We gotta get this back in and thread it onto our retainer / alignment tool. Now it's turning, but is it threading in? No, it was hard to start anyways. Wanted to be perfect. Duh. Now we should be able to move that. Back in there. Back in there. That might be it. Tighten that. Okay, let's take this beautiful tool out. That went back into the gear quite easily. We'll push that gear back so it's fully seated on there. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. No dropping in the chain case. Thank goodness. Love these T-handles for the beginning of most of all this assembly. Alright, that's as tight as that goes by hand with that till the track wants to turn. So get the torque wrench out. I believe this is 35 foot-pounds. I set this wrench up a few minutes ago. That's why I guess I can look. Yep. Hold the brake while we torque this so it doesn't turn, because I do have the track in the air. I can't, it might be in the shot a little bit, but somebody here will surely tell me that my coolant's a little low. And yes, I do know, I know that. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, primary is cleaned and greased, secondaries, rollers are cleaned and rollers are replaced. First start and spin with both done. See what happens here. So we're all done on our little escapade into clutching on the Doos. But yeah, for what we got out of this, I was actually pretty impressed with all the tools that we ordered. Most of this is one kit, the level 3 kit or whatever they call it. P-Drive Complete Clutch Toolkit -3. That is what those guys called it. Definitely worth buying the greasing tool. I truly think so. We didn't even look at the jackshaft tool document, but yeah, it's very dummy instructions. So there's definitely some decent stuff in the compressor and how to use their specific way of expanding rubber versus threading onto the outside and having a machined thin wall machine tube. Yeah, let's go see how she does on the snow.